Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you guys joining me here as we, a bunch of friends, talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, and a little bit of television, a few other things here and there as well. Now, of course, we've been having some heavy rains in Los Angeles, and there was some damage done to the roof of our studio, meaning lots of leaks, so we're not in studio. We'll be back in studio on Monday, but for now, we're back here in Studio B, my home studio, and I'm not alone. Today, I'm joined by the one and only, remotely, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, sir?
John, I am so excited. If I wore Depends, they would be soaking wet right now. Thankfully, I'm not that old.
Not something I wanted to hear, but that's okay. I wonder if there's anything interesting for us to talk about today. I just wonder if there's anything for us to talk about today. I just can't possibly think of anything.
I don't know. I'm just sitting here bouncing up and down like a small infant with excitement. That's all I can say.
All right. Well, listen, guys, we do have a bunch of things to talk about. Obviously, we're going to talk about the whole thing with the Avengers Endgame trailer. A lot to talk about there. We're going to talk about some whispers of an Aquaman 2. Kevin Hart not going to be hosting the Oscars. Now, maybe a Star Wars trailer before the end of the year. How do these award people nominate movies before they've even come out in theater? We're going to get to all of that. But before we do, let's go right off the top with this Kevin Hart thing. Now, of course, it was announced that Kevin Hart was going to be hosting the Oscars. Not my top pick, but a pick that I liked. I liked the pick of Kevin Hart. I really did. He's a legitimate movie personality, which is always number one to me. And I think he's a great stand-up comedian. I don't always love all his movies, but he's a great stand-up comedian. I like the pick. Then some news outlets started to complain about the fact that in 2009 through 2011, there was a few jokes he had in some of his comedy routines that Kevin Hart said himself and explained immediately. Those were jokes about me making fun of my own insecurities. That wasn't me making fun of the gay community. That was me making fun of myself for being so insecure. But whatever, a lot of people still had a problem. Then it went on that the Academy apparently got a hold of Kevin Hart and insisted to him that he issue an apology or else he shouldn't be hosting the Oscars. And Kevin Hart said in reply, and this is all on his public social media, saying, look, I'm not going to apologize for this again. He says, I addressed this all years ago. I talked about the rights and the wrongs of it. I've talked about how I've changed. I explained the jokes at the time and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to do it again. 2 hours after that, Kevin Hart came out and put out a post on social media saying that he has decided to step down. He doesn't want to be a distraction to the Oscars. He apologized for offending anybody with stuff he wrote 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, and he stepped down. Robert, I gave my opinion on this yesterday, that I kind of felt like, dear heavens, we are so at the point now that we are just immediately, as soon as somebody gets named to anything, people start witch hunting through their past, not even for anything they did, but maybe even things they joked about. And yesterday I said in the show that I didn't think Kevin Hart should step down. I didn't even think he should step down, let alone anything else. And yet here he is. He's had to step down. But I don't know. Maybe you never liked his inclusion in the show in the first place. What do you think about, number one, the selection of Kevin Hart to host the Oscars and subsequently him now stepping down as the host of the Oscars?
Well, first of all, on one hand, I think Kevin Hart's rise to prominence, especially in the movies he's done with The Rock, has been a good one. I really like him as a presence. I think, Ride Along, when he was with Ice Cube, I've really enjoyed what he's done. He's a deft comedian. He's a fun on-screen presence. And he was great in
Jumanji, too. He was great in Jumanji.
Yeah, great in Jumanji. And he's really worked his ass off. And yes, stand-up comedy is frequently bawdy. It's frequently a little close to home. And stand-up comedy has never been safe. Ever since Lenny Bruce came on the scene, who is actually a character in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, comedy has been dangerous. And all comics over the last 50 years, whether it was Richard Pryor, whether it was Eddie Murphy, whether it was Chris Rock, they've all attacked everyone, every stereotype that exists. And I really think that we are becoming a society of thin-skinned people that need to take a step back, and you can't pillory every single person for everything they might have ever said one time in their lives. If we're going to do that, we're all guilty at some point. What person is beyond reproach? What community hasn't stereotyped another community at some point in their lives? I just think it's really getting dangerous, and it's dangerous for everyone. And I think it's unfortunate. I mean, look, maybe the Academy should have vetted Kevin Hart a little bit harder or a little bit deeper, but I think Kevin's done his job. And it's unfortunate. I think he was a fresh choice to host the Oscars. I think he could have brought a great energy to it. But it's too bad. I mean, who's going to take the job now? Who's going to take any job where you're subject to that kind of public scrutiny?
Not me. And that's one of the things now. It's like, good luck. Good luck.
Yeah.
Finding an Oscar host at this point, because again, look, there are definitely things you should not say, and there are absolutely things you should not do. But I just find that, like with this situation, a joke he made in 2010 that was a part of his comedy routine that was it's a comedy special. Everybody knew about this. Why didn't the Oscars say anything about this before this all got brought up? You know why? Because they thought, oh, he already explained this. This was apologized for and explained his joke, so this isn't an issue, until other people decided to make it an issue. And to me, that's, and you know, I talked yesterday about this, Robert, about how, you know, the two guys who do South Park, they once said something really, really simple, but incredibly profound. Because they are often at the heart of some controversy about what you should and shouldn't joke about.
They're amazing.
They are. And this one time they said this. They said, look, we can either joke about everything or we can joke about nothing. And as simple as that sounds, I thought that was incredibly profound. Now, I wasn't sure I wanted to share this, but I'm going to share this. This was sent to me at like 6:30 this morning from one of our viewers in Ohio. And I want to read this email that I got. I wasn't sure I was going to, but I do feel like I want to do this. And here's the email that I got this morning. It was from Michelle, who wrote, Dear John, as a woman openly living for over 5 years, I can't tell you how frustrated I and my friends are over this Kevin Hart situation. The actions of a small minority have made me and my community look weak. Kevin Hart being forced to remove himself sends a message that our community is a weak community. We are not weak. We are very strong. We are not insecure. We do not see ourselves as above humor. We are not so fragile that jokes from 8 years ago, even poorly worded ones, send us into a tailspin of self-loathing. Please let your viewers know that the actions of that small minority who forced Mr. Hart out do not represent me or the majority of our community. Thank you, from Michelle. And you know what? And I got a sense, and look, I said this before, I will say this again. I am a deathly boring, straight heterosexual man. So I cannot possibly comprehend the sensitivities of a community who've been through the stuff and the prejudice and all that kind of stuff that the LGBTQ community has had to face over the years. I'm not even going to pretend like I can understand it. But I remember seeing some journalists taking up this banner to get attention for themselves or to look like the glorious white knight warrior, or I don't know. But I remember thinking, this doesn't feel right to me. But anyway, I was disappointed to hear that he stepped down. And so let me ask you this, Robert. Who's going to host the Oscars now? I know we both just said who on earth could do it, but honestly, like, could you see anybody now being like next in line to host the Oscars if anybody even wanted to?
Well, I think, look, ultimately somebody's going to want to, because it's a lucrative job, and if you do well, you get a lot of attention brought to yourself. But maybe they'll have to think out of the box. Maybe we'll have two different hosts. I don't know. I mean, I just think that, you know, the different communities that we have in this world, no one makes fun of themselves more or better than those communities do of themselves. And everybody's in on these jokes. And it's only lately when everybody, look, hate is hate. We need less of that in the world. What we need more of is being able to shine a light on ourselves, turn over those rocks, and laugh at who we are with the understanding that it only helps us understand one another better. There's no better way in than humor to break the ice between different kinds of people. We can all laugh at our foibles and our shortcomings, but when it comes to hosting the Oscars, look, it should be a celebration of the movies. And what's happening with this is that it just moves, it turns the Oscars into, look, it's a politicized broadcast anyway, because aren't we all the libtards from California out here? But I mean, it should be a celebration of the art of cinema. When you talk about every person that worked on every one of those Oscar-winning films, you're talking about tens of thousands of people. Tens of thousands of people from all walks of life work on movie sets. Movie sets are a microcosm of society. You've got blue-collar workers, you've got white-collar workers, you've got day laborers, you've got sculptors, painters, artists. I mean, there's no better place to see work being done from an entire community than there is on a movie set. And that needs to be celebrated. And this kind of press, it moves the focus away from where it should be. And that frequently happens today in every part of our civilization. The things that are important that we should be really focusing on are frequently mired in this ridiculous controversy over, I don't know what, besmirching somebody who said something 8 or 10 years ago. I hate to think if people knew what I said in elementary school or junior high school, if that came back to haunt me, no geeks would ever talk to me again. Yeah, I once said I hated the Avengers and loved the Justice League. People would be like,
I remember DC fanboy. One of my favorite theologian and of all time, I once got to interview this guy named Dr. Tony Campolo, who was the spiritual advisor to President Bill Clinton. He's a theologian, all this kind of stuff. But he said this one statement once that has stuck with me forever, which was this. He was standing on a platform in front of like 10,000 people. And he said, if you guys knew every wrong thing I've done and said, you wouldn't want to listen to me. And then he said, and if I knew every wrong thing you've done and said, I wouldn't talk to you. And then it also reminds me of this great line from a poet once said. He said, you know what? We're never going to truly be able to live together until we're able to laugh at ourselves together. And that just seems poignant for this right now. All right.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to the next topic here. And the next thing for us to talk about is this little trailer that dropped earlier today. That's right. It finally happened. The trailer for Avengers Endgame. And remember, there was speculation that the name of the new Avengers movie was going to be Annihilation. Some people in recent days thought it might be Decimation. Some people thought it might be Endgame. And it does end up being Endgame. I'm neither hot nor cold on the title. You know my opinion here, guys. A title's a title. It doesn't really matter. But in this trailer, and we'll talk about what we liked and didn't like and all this kind of stuff, but in this trailer, there are 3 things I want to point out that I thought were most interesting. The first thing that is most interesting that really jumped out at me in this trailer is the fact that in the end card, it said April. Of course, this movie is supposed to open on May 3rd. Clearly, Marvel is now announcing they have done the same thing they did with Avengers Infinity War. They have moved this movie into April. The second thing I thought was really interesting was we finally get to see Hawkeye again. Or is he Ronin? They haven't changed names before. He'll probably just call him Hawkeye at this point. Having just slaughtered a bunch of what looks like Yakuza in the streets pretty remorselessly. And the third thing I thought was really interesting in this trailer was as Dr. Banner is going through all the people that they had lost. Look at that, where that red arrow is pointing, folks. That's Shuri. I just assumed that Shuri had lived. I thought Shuri was alive, but apparently she was also amongst the dusted that went away as well. So those are the interesting things to me. So, Robert, putting aside those interesting things, and maybe even talk a little bit of those interesting things. You saw the Avengers Endgame trailer today. What did you think about the trailer?
Well, first of all, I've repeatedly spoken to you about what I had hoped, that we learned nothing about the movie. Now, this is about as close as we could have come to that. I loved this teaser. This was truly a teaser in the grand teasers of yore, like the Alien teaser, the original Alien teaser, where it tells you the movie's coming. It gives you a setup. We see the original Avengers. Tony Stark is dying on a spacecraft, running out of food and oxygen. The other Avengers are monumentally depressed. We've learned humanity is no longer the world is a different place. Indeed, the universe is a very different place. The Avengers are riddled with guilt, and all hope is lost. And then in grand Marvel Kevin Feige fashion, all of that despair and all of that depression, we get a little tag of Scott Lang contextually being humorous and hopeful.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it was a brilliant piece of marketing, and it shows exactly why the Marvel Cinematic Universe is as successful as it is. And here's what I also loved. I love that the Marvel 10-year anniversary logo gets dusted, but that at the end, when the Avengers logo is shown, it comes together. It reassembles. Avengers assemble again. And just these little things, these pieces of marketing are so well thought out. I loved everything about it. It was exactly what I thought it should be.
Well, I'm glad you're that enthusiastic about it, because I'm not. And now, please don't misinterpret me. I'm not saying I didn't like it. I did like it. I thought it was a good trailer, but I just did not like it as much as you. Look, I am first of all, this entire trailer felt like a 2-minute prologue just to Avengers Infinity War. It felt like that trailer could have, other than the shot of Hawkeye and the shot, obviously, of Ant-Man at the end, which I agree with you. It was a great juxtaposition of the depression. Hey guys, Ant-Man's here. That was a great cut, a great edit, and it was perfectly placed in the trailer as well. Other than those two things, though, this was really just could have been tagged on to the end of Avengers Infinity War as a 2-minute prologue. And honestly, now I know why you're as excited about it as you are, Robert, because it is pretty close to what you were hoping for. Nothing. Which is exactly what you wanted. Nothing. This thing practically gave you nothing, so I knew you'd be happy about it. But for me, as a first trailer, it's good. It's a good first trailer. It's just letting everybody know, hey, Avengers 4 is coming. Here's our title. By the way, we've moved it to April. Here's where our leaders left off. But like the entire first minute, I'm like, yeah, I know this already. When Widow goes, Thanos achieved what he wanted to achieve. He wiped out half of all living things. I'm like, yeah, I know. I know that already. We all know that already. And then everybody's sad. It's like, yeah, we know that already. So,
but there was other information there. She said all living things.
Yeah, but that was kind
of things.
The Russos kind of mentioned that before already. They kind of said it wasn't just like the sentient beings. It was like all living things gone.
Sure, but that's whatever. In an interview.
But look, here's the thing. There was nothing spectacular about this trailer. Let's be honest here.
But
let's be honest.
Didn't have to.
No, that's fine. You can say they didn't have to, and that's fine. I'm not going to disagree with you on that. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. But I'm saying let's not cover over or pretend like this was some kind of earth-shaking, monumental, most amazing trailer ever. It wasn't. You know what it was? It was an Avengers 4 trailer. And I just have this feeling by reading... Well, wait, it's 2.5 minutes long. It's a little bit more than... Well, it's about 2 minutes long, whatever. But it's a first trailer, and that's fine. But I just get the feeling that this trailer could have just been the title card, Avengers Endgame coming April, and then 30 seconds of Kevin Feige standing butt naked doing the windmill with his dick going, hey everybody, you're gonna go see my movie, and everybody will be going, oh my god, it's the best thing ever, because it's Avengers 4. I will go so far as to say this, that Captain Marvel trailer was better than this Avengers 4 trailer, but... And I think I'm going to anticipate a little bit where you might go with this, Robert. But in context, the Avengers trailer is very good. I mean, it says what's coming. It introduces us back into the world. We see where it's nice to see everybody again. But let's not get carried away. I understand it's Avengers 4. I used to joke that when The Phantom Menace was coming out, the first trailer for The Phantom Menace could have just been George Lucas, masturbating in a pool full of money going, ha, 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 and everybody would have said it's the greatest thing ever. And sure enough, we did, until people saw the movie. And I just
There's
feel
a lot
like
of naked men in these fantasies.
That's true. But I mean, don't ever try to host the Oscars now, Robert. Anyway, so the thing is, though, like, look, okay, let's strip away that we know that the Avengers 4 is the Endgame, we can now officially call it. That's the one we're all excited about. We're more excited about that than Captain Marvel, than we are about Spider-Man Far From Home. It's Avengers 4. That's what we've been focused on. But I just kind of feel like they could have put anything in this trailer, and most people would be going, it's incredible, simply because it's an Avengers 4 trailer. But I thought it was good. I don't dislike it. I thought it was good. I just think people are overreacting to it a little bit. I don't know. What is your retort to this, sir?
Well, first of all, Avengers Endgame already had the greatest trailer ever for any movie in Hollywood history, and that was called Avengers Infinity War. So that's why, to me, you know, they have to announce it for the people that aren't us watching this podcast right now. So, you know, my mom's like, wow, you know, I like that Infinity War. I'm always going back to my mom. The litmus test for any movie is my mom. And so she now knows that there's an Avengers 4 trailer coming, and she'll say something like, well, the Avengers look really sad. Do you think they're going to be able to do something? You know, and
the Avengers look really sad.
and I think that's what it needed to do was show us our core characters, and maybe a little was that Thanos, a little gladiator action when he's got his hands over the wheat, you know, in Valhalla, Elysium, where Maximus is left,
and the Scarecrow. That kind of when you see that was another good shot. That shot of Thanos's armor kind of hung up like a scarecrow.
You know, I love that so much, and it's to me it's the stuff that wasn't said that it alluded to. I mean, we know that Tony Stark figures out a way to get spaceborne again and try and get to Earth, even though he probably doesn't have the fuel, or he's lost in space. That to me is like, that's a cliffhanger right there. There was people talking about Avengers Infinity War was a cliffhanger. No, it ended. Thanos won, as this trailer pointed out.
Yes.
What a cliffhanger is Tony Stark alive in space, having not had food for 4 days and having 24 hours left of oxygen.
Which, by the way, why didn't Nebula fly him home? I wanted to why Nebula was right there with the ship. Why didn't she fly him home?
Maybe she is on that ship flying him home, and she's in the same predicament. They just didn't have enough fuel.
Yep.
You know, they're out. You know, like you said, Shuri is gone. You know that they've got a plan. Now, I don't know if I love seeing Natasha and Steve together, because I still maintain they're in a relationship, and that I love that. And I'll tell you, that shot, that push in, where Steve looks at Scott Lang's message and says, "Is this an old recording?" And the camera pans past his face right on to Black Widow, and she says, "That's the front door." I got a little whoosh. I got a little chill. I'm like, all right. So Scott Lang somehow escaped from the quantum realm. We don't know how, but he did. And I'm like, I want to know. I want to see this movie right now, John. Right now. Right now.
I mean, what the trailer does well is it raises questions. One, how does Tony get out of that predicament? For me, two, why the hell didn't Nebula just fly him back? But maybe she's with him, and that comes out later. Three, how did Scott get out of the quantum realm? But we knew he was going to. But you know, how does he do that? She tracks back down Hawkeye. That was the look on his face of a hurt man. I think we can assume he either lost all or at least a number of his family.
He got leftovered. He got leftover.
Yeah, he got leftover. So, I mean, again, look, you and I are on the same page here. We both like this trailer. We are just debating over how much did we like the trailer. And again, I thought the trailer was good. I thought it's a good first trailer. But again, it's a first trailer. Some people saying I like that it didn't give away too much. It didn't give you anything. Yeah. It's not that it didn't give you too much.
That was why it was so
anything.
Good.
But I mean, it was a very slow, basically showing everything we already knew. Yes, they're sad. Yes, half the earth is gone, blah, blah, blah. But I thought it was good. I liked it. People are going to misquote me and say, Campea hated the trailer. No, I didn't. I liked it. Thumbs up. And look, we know the movie's going to be awesome. What this trailer has done for me, though, I got to say, is I often talk about trailers that the number one job of a trailer is to get you and me more excited for a movie than we previously were. No matter how excited or unexcited we are, the job of a trailer is to get you more excited. I will say this. I thought the trailer was good, but it did not make me any more excited for Avengers 4 because I feel like I just saw a bunch of stuff. I like the trailer. It's a good first trailer, but my excitement level for Avengers 4 is already way up here, so it didn't do anything to move it. But I'll tell you what it did do. This trailer made me excited for the next trailer. Because if this is all they're doing with this trailer, then my assumption at this point is that the next trailer, which may come out January, February, whatever, when the next trailer comes, I have a feeling they're going to crush us over the skull with a giant hammer of awesome. I just have a feeling that the next trailer is going to be a balls.
Hammer of awesome.
I think the next trailer is going to be a full balls to the wall, pedal to the metal. We are going to blow your minds kind of a trailer. And I think they're saying for that. So while this trailer didn't get me all that more excited for the movie itself, because I'm already way up here, it did get me more excited for the next trailer. So that's where I'm at.
No,
all right.
Look, I agree with you, but I think it made me pretty damn excited just to know that they're going to be dealing with those issues. This isn't just going to be an action slugfest. It's going to take its time. It's going to establish the world and the universe and tell us where we're at. And really, really, they're going to ratchet up the stakes to the point where I think this movie is going to pack an emotional wallop unlike we've ever seen in a comic book movie before.
All right. Well, we will see how they actually work all of that out. Okay. With that stuff out of the way, guys, let's now go to our main topics, although that was clearly a main topic. Well, let's go to the main body of our show. And how do we select the topics for the main body of our show? It's simple. You guys select them by emailing me your topics and questions anytime to john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. Just put your email in there. Make sure you put the word topic in the subject line, guys. And as always, keep your emails to 90 words or less. With that out of the way, let's get to the first email today. And the first email today comes to us from John Stezzi, who writes, "Hi, John, longtime follower of yours from Connecticut. The Golden Globe nominations were announced today, and this is obviously an email from the other day, and I was wondering, how do they nominate movies that haven't even been released yet? It doesn't make sense to me." All right, thanks a lot for the email, John. And you know what? You'd be surprised. I do actually get asked this question quite a bit. I get asked this question a lot. And I know a lot of you guys already know the answer, but there's a lot of people who don't. So this happens every year, Robert. The award season comes around, and we start hearing nominations for movies that have not even hit theaters yet. And, then you get a lot of people asking, of course, how the hell are they doing this? Why are they nominating something they haven't even watched yet? How is that fair? Here's what happens. What they do is that these awards bodies, the studios will send out screeners to the voting members of the various awards bodies. So if you're a member of the Academy, you get a screener. If you're a member of the Golden Globes Hollywood Foreign Press, all 60 or 70 of you, you get a screener. If you're a voting member of the Broadcast Film Critics Society, you'll get a screener. So what they do is they send out these screeners to these awards bodies to make sure they have a chance to see it. They send them these for your consideration screeners so they can watch it and they have seen it. So all the voting members of the Academy, all the voting members of the Broadcast Film Critics Society, all the voting members of SAG, all the voting members of the Golden Globes, they've all received these movies. So while they're not in theaters yet, they are available, and these voting members have seen these movies. That's how they qualify to be a part of it. Now, as long as these are movies that will be playing in a theater before the end of the year, then they qualify. So, Robert, let me ask you this. Have you ever been a part of one of these voting bodies or anything where you got these screenings in advance, or do you know anybody that is part of these voting bodies?
Oh, yes. I personally have not been part of the voting bodies, but as everyone knows, one of the great benefits of living in LA is you always know friends who get all of the screeners. Some of the acting bodies do. I've got director friends that get all of the screeners. And one of the great joys of the end of the year is when they start sending out screeners to a lot of movies that have yet to come out in around sometimes even October, November. And they also have all the guilds have screenings of movies. The Writers Guild does, the Directors Guild does, SAG does. They're showing all of these films to their membership. And sometimes if you have friends, you can go with them and you can see movies that have yet to come out. It's a great time to be in Los Angeles, the pre-awards time.
Yeah,
but I think you said it very well. You explained it very well.
I used to actually, when I was first in LA, I lived with a buddy of mine who now writes for Variety. And he's a voting member of one of these awards bodies. And I used to love it because around, September, all these movies would start coming in the mail for him to watch on DVD that weren't coming out for another 2 or 3 months. And I get to sit there and watch those movies. And actually, one of my partners, Susan, who has been a voting member of one of my partners at Power Media and the Stream.tv, has been a voting member of the Academy for like decades.
Oh, wow.
So she gets to go all these, not just the screeners, but she gets all these special presentations and all this kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's move on now to the next email. And the next email today comes to us from Nicholas DeWitt. And Nicholas DeWitt writes, "Hey, John, love the show. I was reading tonight that Warner Brothers is already planning on doing a sequel to Aquaman. While I like the positive attitude, didn't they learn anything from the disaster Universal had with its failed Monsterverse and getting ahead of themselves? I'm looking forward to Aquaman, but this just sort of screams that Warner Brothers just hasn't learned anything. What say you?" All right, thanks a lot for the email, Nicholas. And what Nicholas is talking about and is referring to, there was a piece in the Hollywood Reporter talking to Amber Heard. Now, in that piece that was focusing on Amber Heard, the Hollywood Reporter wrote the following. They wrote this: "According to strong early tracking, the film is expected," talking about Aquaman, "the film is expected to earn an impressive $65 million in its domestic debut and top Mary Poppins and Transformers spin-off Bumblebee, at least in its opening weekends. That number gave Warner Brothers Picture Group chairman Toby Emmerich enough confidence to begin talks on a sequel, though no writer has been commissioned yet. Heard, who sources say earned a low seven-figure salary — man, I would love to earn a low seven-figure salary — would see that payday balloon," which is for obvious things. So, Robert, you haven't seen Aquaman yet. No. I haven't seen Aquaman yet, although we are both going to go see Aquaman like in the next 48 hours or so, I think. No, like early next week. We're going to go see Aquaman early next week. What do you think about them talking right now about an Aquaman sequel? Is it getting ahead of themselves? Is this another Universal Monsters thing? Or is there more intelligence behind this? How do you see it?
Well, I think, remember, the studios are way ahead of everybody as far as they know. Aquaman, first of all, had its London premiere. We saw James Wan traveling around the world, going to Asia, going to London, showing this film. And they've already got the feedback. They already know that they've got a hit on their hands. They already know that everybody loves this movie. So it's not unusual for them to move forward with a film. Look, they're moving forward with films all the time. We just don't hear about it until they're a lot further down the road because it's all internal. So Warner Brothers knows they've got a hit with Aquaman. How big of a hit remains to be seen. But when studios don't have so much of a hit, they still try and build up the hype. They still try and they keep putting on a brave game face until it becomes readily apparent a film underperforms. We heard those stories about the executives who stood up and cheered after seeing Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice for the first time.
Which were BS.
And indeed, they probably did. They probably watched a 3-hour cut. And then the marketing department...
You think the marketing department
weighs in and says, guys, we can't release a 3-hour movie. And then like, oh, okay, we have to cut it down.
Well, I mean, look, I
don't think that, look, they know. I look at the Aquaman trailer and I'm like...
I don't know. I don't think there was ever a standing ovation for that movie. I think that maybe somebody leaked that there was a standing ovation. I thought Batman versus Superman and Justice League. I thought Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice was the extended cut, or whatever it's called, the ultimate cut or something like that. Anyway, I thought that cut was...
The ultimate cut.
The ultimate cut, that's it. I thought that was marginally better than the theatrical cut. But I don't believe for a second that Justice League ever got a standing ovation. I think that was all BS. But I'll tell you what, though. I totally see where our viewer is coming from, saying this kind of smells like the Universal situation. Yeah, I get that. I know that. But there is a big difference between that Universal Monsters scenario and this scenario. And the big difference is this. That Monsters universe scenario that Universal was trying to kick off with Tom Cruise's The Mummy, it didn't have any movies out yet. It was a franchise that didn't even exist yet, right? And then they were planning and marketing and advertising and putting out photo spreads of these next 4 movies we're doing when they hadn't had a single one hit theater yet. The DC universe is a little bit different. The DC universe is in a situation where they've had many movies out and they've already got, not only do they have more movies coming, but they've got a movie like Shazam that's already pretty much almost in the can and done shooting, and that's just in post-production. We got Wonder Woman 84 that's coming down the road. So these things are already happening. I'm going to say this. I like the new attitude at Warner Brothers. I like that this studio, which has traditionally absolutely refused to show any confidence in their property and in their franchise, I like the fact that under Walter Hamada, they have totally changed their tune. They aren't just putting out stuff for PR's sake. They're not just doing a lot of grandstanding or chest puffing out. They are actually doing concrete things that says, we believe in our franchise. Whether it's lifting the review embargo for Aquaman super early, whether it's letting the public see Aquaman a full week before its release date to let word of mouth get out there. And now even talking about, look, we know we've got a winner in Aquaman, so it's time for us to start talking about Aquaman 2. I totally see where it could be looked at as maybe them getting ahead of themselves. I understand that. But under Walter Hamada and the way they've been conducting themselves lately, I just see it as them showing great confidence. What do you think about that? I think we got some delay now.
Well, yeah. Well, yes, I was like, I was missing you. Well, I agree with you entirely. I mean, Walter Hamada was brought in to sort of change directions, and they have done that. And I think it's really important that, look, these studios are betting hundreds of millions of dollars in both the budget and the marketing of these movies. These are not movies that are just haphazardly thrown around. They are hoping that each and every film they make is a hit. No one is trying to make a movie anything less than the best movie you've ever seen. Everybody is always trying to make the best movie you've ever seen. But unfortunately, there's pressure from marketing, there's pressure from corporate shareholders, there's pressure from the filmmakers themselves, there's pressure from the executives. Everyone is trying to make the best movie they can. And that's what people need to understand. When they hired a visionary filmmaker like James Wan, who has incredible, I mean, the Saw franchise, the Conjuring franchise, he's working the Fast and the Furious franchise. I mean, this was a hire that was really well considered, and apparently it paid off. So they're working very hard to make us the best entertainment possible. And I think what's going on with a new direction at Warner Brothers and not trying to make a universe, but try and make a film-by-film success, that's the way to go. And that results in getting a Joker movie, and getting a Shazam movie, and getting the Harley Quinn movie. I mean, I think we're going to be getting some great films. And in the end, that's all that really matters.
All right, let's move on now to the next email. And the next email today comes to us from, who does it come from? This one comes to us from George T., who writes, I'm a lifelong Star Wars fan, and I love The Force Awakens and Rogue One, and really like Solo, but I wasn't impressed with The Last Jedi. So, I've been a little worried about Episode 9. But then I saw Kevin Smith talking about being on set of Episode 9, and he said what he saw was so good it made him actually cry. Does hearing stuff like this make you more excited for the movie? All right, thanks a lot for the email, George. And for those of you who don't know what George is talking about, this is what he's talking about. So film director Kevin Smith, like probably the head king of the geek culture right now, Kevin Smith, he recently was on set for a while at the Star Wars Episode 9 set, and he was there to see a lot of the filming of it. So he said this. This quote comes to us from our friends over at Cineblend, and he said the following. JJ is doing the Lord's work. Remember, this is coming from Kevin Smith. JJ is doing the Lord's work. This movie looks fantastic. It is a year away, but man, it looks fantastic. I wept on set because I saw somebody give a career best performance. Somebody I've seen in these movies before. I rolled a tear. It was so darn powerful. Biggest set I've ever seen in my life. The dude's not directing a movie. It's like he's directing a small country. So that, of course, is from Kevin Smith. So I ask you, Robert, what do you think about these comments from Kevin Smith?
Well, of course, there's a little bit of hyperbole here, and we have to take that into consideration. But I think, look, you know, John, Episode 9 is the culmination of 40-plus years of Star Wars movies. And it's not just following up The Last Jedi, which was very divisive, even though I'm a big fan of that film. Yeah, I'm not saying it's a perfect movie, but it was interesting. And I thought Luke's performance and Luke's journey was quite, it was the most baller thing in the world when he doesn't even show up to the battle that he's fighting. What's more Jedi than that? But that said, Episode 9 has to be the return of the king of the Skywalker saga. I mean, we are looking at, we have to have the Battle of Pelennor Fields at the end of this movie. It has to be. I can't even imagine what this film has to be satisfying. Not just serving the new characters, but also we're going to see Luke, and we're probably going to see Yoda, and I would imagine maybe even Ben Kenobi, and who knows who else we're going to see in this movie.
Maybe even Anakin. Maybe even
Anakin. And I think whatever we're going to see, the what it's going to have to deliver is not just one of the greatest films ever made, the greatest Star Wars movie ever made, but it also has to justify Disney's expenditure on the entire Star Wars franchise. Sure, they've got Star Wars Land opening at Disneyland next year. They've got all kinds of ancillary things making them money. But at the end of the day, this movie perhaps is going to be looked upon by future generations as the single most important franchise film ever made. Because if they don't stick the landing, there's going to be a whole disappointed planet of people, albeit, a whole disappointed, there's generations of people that aren't even born yet that are going to be disappointed in episode 9 if it doesn't stick the landing.
You're so right. Sticking the landing. Stick the landing. Stick the landing. We talk about that all the time and how brutally important it is to stick the landing. Look, everybody knows I am a massive Star Wars fan, okay? So I read these comments. I read these comments from Kevin Smith, and I'm like, oh, that's good. But do I give a lot of weight to it? No. Why? Because Kevin Smith is a through and through bona fide hardcore fanboy. And I bet being on there. And you know what? I have a feeling he would not reveal who it was he was talking about when he said, I saw somebody that we've seen in these movies before give the performance of a career. I have a feeling he's talking about Mark Hamill. I can't say that definitively, but that's what I think, you know? So I'm hoping that's what he's talking about. And it's good. Look, that's positive. On the scale of positive or negative, I liked hearing Kevin Smith's comments. But as somebody who tries to take a step back and be a little bit more even-headed, although I often fail, I got to say, I'm not going to get too worked up or too excited about Kevin Smith's comments. Look, he's a huge fanboy. He got to be on set. He probably got to see Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker giving the performance of a lifetime. And that'll move you, and that's great. But I'm not going to give a lot of weight to it. I'm not saying Kevin Smith isn't being honest. I'm not saying Kevin Smith isn't being truthful. Of course he is. I'm just not going to give a lot of weight to it or get too excited about it, because I might be saying the same things if I was in a situation. It might have had that effect on me. But listen, we've got another Star Wars story here to talk about in the form of our last email today. And our final email today comes to us from Anthony Neves, who writes, Greetings, John. Disney appears to be flooding the market with trailers for their big 2019 tentpole movies, Lion King, Captain Marvel, Avengers. Now, Twitter rumors are buzzing that we might get a Christmas present from Lucasfilm. The Force Awakens teaser came out a year before the movie hit the screens. What do you think are the chances that we get an Episode 9 teaser trailer this holiday season? Thanks and love the show. All right, thanks a lot for the email, Anthony. And for those of you who don't know what Anthony's talking about, there are stories going around right now and rumors going around that there is a chance that both Star Wars Episode 9 and apparently Frozen 2, which is coming out in 2019, may actually get trailers this month, like before the end of the year. Now, look, we've already seen Disney give us trailers for Captain Marvel. We just got one for Avengers 4. Word is we may very well get a Spider-Man Far From Home teaser tomorrow, and now possibly a Star Wars and Frozen 2. Let's put Frozen 2 aside for a second because I'm looking forward to the movie, but we don't really care that much right now. So let's talk about the Star Wars thing.
Would you say you're letting go of talking about Frozen 2? Sorry.
Let it go. So this is what I would say about that. Is simply this, Robert. I'm of two minds here, and so tell me let me give you my theory here and then tell me what you think. I'm of two minds right now, okay? My two minds are of this. Number one, it is far too early for a Star Wars trailer. You do not need to put out a Star Wars trailer a year before it comes out. What is the point? People even talking about it or buzzing about it is going to be dissipated and gone within 2 to 3 months anyway. There is absolutely no point in putting out a Star Wars trailer right now. A year ahead of schedule is way too freaking early. Way too freaking early. It serves no purpose whatsoever. However, I do have an other side of my brain, and this is what I'm curious to know what you think about, Robert, because the other side of my brain kind of says this. Do you remember back when Man of Steel came out? Remember this? Man of Steel came out. A lot of people were disappointed in it, which I to this day have no idea why, because I think that movie...
Me neither. I love Man of Steel.
Oh, I love that movie. Anyway, but a lot of people very divisive, blah, 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 blah. Comic-Con comes out, though, and they put out a trailer for Batman versus Superman, right? Really far in advance, like over a year in advance. I think the first one when they dropped it at Comic-Con was. But what did it do? It changed the narrative. Because everybody, and then they did the same thing going into a following Comic-Con where everybody was talking about how disappointed they were in the DCU. Everybody's disappointed in the DCU. And then at Comic-Con, they dropped a buttload of trailers. Not this one, but in previous years. They dropped the first Wonder Woman trailer. They dropped the first Justice League trailer way in advance, all that kind of stuff. Well, why did they drop them that earlier? Because they wanted to change the narrative. And guess what? For a period of time, it worked. Because just like that, people went, when talking about the DCEU, all the conversations were negative, and then all of a sudden, after they dropped all those trailers, for a period of time, the conversations kind of transitioned to one of optimism, to looking forward to these movies. While I hate the idea of a trailer coming out a year in advance, even if it's Star Wars, I don't think they should do it. But while I hate that, there is something here to be said about, look, coming out of what is probably... certainly the most divisive of the Star Wars movies since the new incarnation of Star Wars in The Last Jedi. I liked it, you liked it, but there was a lot of people who didn't. Could there be benefit? Could there be advantage here, Robert, to putting out a trailer to, at least for the next number of months, change the narrative? Because right now it seems like when people are talking about Star Wars online, it's very divisive, it's kind of toxic, people are talking about it in negative tones, blah, blah, blah. And this is what else it tells me, Robert. It tells me that if they do put out a trailer by the end of December, and I don't know that they are, but if they do, and if their motivation is to change the narrative, oh my God, they must have something to show us that they believe will completely crack open the universe. They must believe they have something to show us that is so incredible and so amazing and will get everybody so excited that it will accomplish what we were just saying, changing the narrative. So let me ask you which of those two trains of thought you're in, or if you have a third. Is it way too early? Is it good to change the narrative? Or is there a third option here that you think they should be going with? What do you think?
Okay. Now, you're going to have to go with me on this because this just popped into my head. But in terms of changing the narrative, I'd like to use a metaphor or an example from a movie that people wouldn't normally associate me with. She's All That.
I did not expect you to say that one. I did not expect that one.
So in She's All That, Rachel Lee Cook is supposed to be this sort of...
Hold a second. I think we just lost your audio for a second. We lost your audio. Give me 1 second here to back, because I don't know what happened here. Sorry, guys. Technical problem with the show. Can you just give me a hello?
Hello?
Are you guys still able to hear Robert okay? I think you guys are still able to hear Robert. Hold a second here.
Okay, well, if you can.
I think everybody can hear Robert except for me, which sucks. Well, I think everybody's being able to hear Robert except for me. So I'll tell you what, Robert. Let me do this. I think everybody can still hear you. So, wait a second. I know. Now I can hear you. I now say something again. Now I can hear you. Thank you very much. Okay. So, please continue.
So She's All That, right? In this movie, Rachel Lee Cook is supposed to be this nebbishy, nerdy girl, right? And Freddie Prinze Jr. is like, I don't know if I should like her or not. I don't know. And then I'll tell you what. Oh, yes. Then I'll tell you what happened. Sorry. I was looking at my own technical issues. So there's a scene when Rachel Lee Cook shows up on the beach and She's All That in a one-piece bathing suit. And you as an audience member are going, wait a minute. This girl's like smoking hot, even though she's supposed to be the nebbishy, nerdy girl. And the narrative of that film is changed when you see Rachel Lee Cook in a one-piece on the beach. That's kind of where Disney's at now with Star Wars. After The Last Jedi, the divisiveness, people are like, you know what? I don't know if I don't want to see the next Star Wars movie. You know, I didn't like what happened with Luke, whatever the reason. Oh, I didn't like going to the Finn and Rose storyline, whatever. They're like the school of people that go to school with Rachel Lee Cook in She's All That. You know, they don't really like her much. They don't pay attention to her much. So what Disney's going to do is they're going to put Star Wars in a one piece on the beach, and they're going to do it. They're going to do it in front of Mary Poppins, John. In front of Mary Poppins Returns, we are going to see a trailer for episode 9 drop. And it is going to drop, and it is going to blow our socks off, and it is going to take the hype level, because Disney's just dealing the cards. You know, hey, you want some Captain Marvel? Here's some Captain Marvel. You want some Avengers Endgame? Here's some Avengers Endgame. And this weekend in Brazil, we're going to give you a little Spider-Man Far From Home. But we got Mary Poppins Returns coming out, the biggest movie of the Christmas season, and guess what you're going to get there? You're going to get a little taste of the Skywalker clan. A taste that is going to make your mouth water so much that you're going to be like wiping your face for the rest of the Christmas season. Through New Year's Eve, through New Year's Day, through all the football games, all anybody's going to talk about is episode 9. It's going to be like, you know, Bring Me Mine, episode 9. It's Like Fine Wine, episode 9. Whatever it's going to be, you are going to drink it up. And you're going to look at her. You're going to look at that trailer like you looked at Rachel Lee Cook, and she's all that when she was in her one piece on the beach. You know, that's what I'm saying about.
First of all, the Academy Award for the best analogy of the year goes to you, Robert Meyer. That was a great analogy, by the way. Here's the thing, though, and let me bring it back to what I said before. If the idea, first of all, I'm still against the idea of releasing trailers soon. If they do release a trailer and it is for the purpose of changing that narrative, like Rachel Lee Cook in the One Piece on the beach, then listen, I can't emphasize enough how important then it's going to be that you can't just put out some trailer. You can't just do what, say, Avengers 4 just did, which is put out like a prologue, a 2-minute prologue. Say, hey, guys, just so you know, Avengers 4. You can't do, if you're going to put out a Star Wars trailer now, you just can't put out, you know, bum, 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 and a black screen, and then coming next year, and then a picture of Rey looking serious and a picture of Poe looking serious. No, you've got to do something equal to, and no less than, show me frickin' Luke Skywalker still alive walking on the screen with a frickin' lightsaber in his hand. Because if you want to do something like this, is going to change. It's got to, I'm not saying it has to be specifically Luke still alive with a lightsaber in his hand, but it's got to be something equal to that. If your purpose here is to change the narrative and to get everybody talking from negative tones about Star Wars to positive, you cannot pull any punches. You cannot do this little reserve thing like what the Avengers 4 thing just did. I know it's early, but if the whole idea is to change narrative, you've got to completely pop the cork on it. Do whatever it is you need to do.
I will give you another analogy. It's got to be Mark Wahlberg as Dirk Diggler at the end of Boogie Nights, finally unfurling and showing his member at the very end of the movie. It's got to be that. We got to see that Dirk Diggler unfurling moment. That's what the trailer for episode 9 has to be. It's
got to be huge. It's got to be something that makes everybody stop. It's got to be something that makes everybody jump on Twitter and going, "Oh my God, did you see that?" Because if it's anything short of that, don't bother doing it. Just don't. Wait till the summertime to stop dropping trailers. So if you're going to fire this gun, fire it hard. Now, I don't even know if they are going to do it. You seem to believe that they are going to drop a trailer, right? You think in front of Mary Poppins they're going to drop a trailer.
I believe 100%. 100%.
All right, well, let's see if that actually comes to pass. All right, guys, listen. We are now good. That's it for all the main stuff that we're going to cover. And, man, we've run long, but we have a ton of questions sent in by you guys. Like the super chat lineup right now, the queue is huge. So we're going to take some time here now and jump in and address some of these questions. So let's jump into it right now. And we're going to start things off with Captain Cap's plan from Technovine. And he writes, Cap's plan is to find Tony or use the quantum realm. I have a feeling that when we see that shot, she says, it's going to work, Tony says, I know it's going to work because I don't know what I'm going to do if it doesn't, which is a great line, by the way. It's a great line. I think it has something to do with them going to retrieve Tony. And by the way, I think that's something from the first act of the film. I think that's something very close to the beginning of the film because I think they're going to get Tony back and everybody's going to be back. I'm going to tell you what, I think by the 20-minute mark of this movie, Tony's going to be back and then the main plot will start to unfold. Tacky75 writes, so according to the trailer, R.I.P. Shuri. Yep. I mean, that was one of the things that jumped out to me. You know, we had this debate a while ago saying, who's now leader in Wakanda? I thought it should be M'Baku. Some people suggested it might be Shuri. I guess that ends the debate. We're probably going to see M'Baku as the king of Wakanda right now. Alexander Helmer writes, Ronin was my favorite part of the trailer. That was a nice trailer. I like seeing all those bodies of what I can only assume is Yakuza laying on the street. That looked really cool. I did like that scene as well. Alan Gonzalez writes, I feel like what they've showed was supposed to be at the end of Avengers Infinity War. Well, that's what I said, right, Robert? Like, I said that specifically, too. I thought that what they showed could have simply been a prologue at the end of Infinity War, right? Like you could have been, right?
Could have been, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. All right, let's see. What else we got here? That was, who was that? That was Alan Gonzalez. All right. Taki75 writes, so dark. Are we sure that wasn't a trailer for the DCU? Well, and that just goes back to that great observation that Robert made about the trailer. It's like, it was so... One of the things that they do great at Marvel, even with their trailers, is they give balance to everything, as all things should. They give balance to everything. And to get to the end of that trailer and go, hey guys, it's me, Ant-Man, it was a great move, and it kind of evened it out a little bit. James Argento writes, over under 63%, Captain Marvel saves Stark/Nebula. Robert, that is one thing that I thought they would do in this trailer. I thought we would see Captain Marvel in the very first trailer. That was one of my guesses. They obviously didn't. I think maybe they're trying to hide her for a purpose, but what do you think? Do you think maybe Captain Marvel is the one that grabs Nebula and Tony from outer space, even though she doesn't know them at all? But do you think that could be something that they do?
I think that's a good bet. And I think they didn't show anybody other than the core Avengers team and Thanos. So other than on screens. And so I think that was a great, they basically showed us the remaining Avengers. We got to see Bruce, we got to see Thor, we got to see Cap and Black Widow, we got to see Hawkeye, we got to see Thanos. That's all we need to see, because everyone else is up in the air. And of course Scott Lang at the end. That brings us hope, the hope that we need.
Didn't see Rocket.
And we didn't see Rocket. And I just think that they played it exactly the way I wanted them to play it. And I loved it.
All right, let's get on with the questions here. And the next question today comes to us, where is it? From John D'Amato, who writes, Shuri appears to be a snap victim, although I thought she had survived. Yeah, I just assumed she had survived too, but I think the only reason we assumed it, and this is fair, is because they didn't show her dusting. And because they were there in Wakanda showing a lot of people dusting, but I guess, they didn't show 3 billion other people dusting. So I guess that made sense, but I'm with you. I was surprised. All right. Abraham Asif writes, Ant-Man. Yeah, that was probably my favorite moment of the trailer, was Ant-Man showing up. I thought that was great. Luis Blanco writes, looks like the snap took Captain's beard. It looks like the snap took Captain America's beard. He looked younger in this trailer, didn't he? Like, I thought without the beard, Chris Evans looks about 5 years younger. I liked him with the beard. What do you think, Robert? Like, do you prefer him with the beard or without?
I think it's years. I think this movie opens years after the end of Infinity War. At least some of it does. We know it was Stark. It's pretty much right away. Or maybe he was stuck on Titan for a while because they had to get that ship spaceworthy. After that battle, it was probably damaged. So maybe, we don't know. But I think time has passed. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if one of my favorite comic book storylines ever was when the Legion of Superheroes comic jumped 5 years into the future, and the comic just said 5 years later. I can imagine this movie opens with that, a title card that says 3 years later, 5 years later, or something, ... So immediately they start out and the audience goes, so who knows?
All right, let's see. Next one up comes to us from The One, who writes, people are already complaining that they showed too much, like WTF. Those are the type of people who should have been dusted, that they showed too much. Robert, what did they show? Like,
nothing.
How can, I mean, I could see having the complaint that they didn't show anything or that they didn't show enough. I don't know how anybody can complain that they showed too much. Like,
me neither.
The only other option is to do exactly what you wanted, Robert, which is not have a trailer at all. I mean, I don't see how you could show any less. They showed a bunch of people repeating things that we already knew. How did they show us too much? I agree with you, man. The one, I don't know how anybody says that. All right. Ben Hayusa writes, still an announcement trailer, but it did its job to hype some of us up. I love how they reveal the title with the logo undusting and forming together. Yeah, creatively, that was a pretty creative choice to do that, to have it kind of assemble that way. I don't know that I would call it an announcement trailer. It's a little long for an announcement trailer, but it's definitely a first trailer. It's definitely a first. And I've been saying for a while, the first trailer has a different job than the other main trailers nowadays, the way things have evolved. And I thought it was a good trailer. I'm not blown away by it, but I thought it was a good first trailer. So that's good enough for me for now. Kyle Beckworth writes, awesome teaser and very excited with the move to April. Yeah, there were a lot of people speculating they may do the same thing that they did last year. Now this is confirmation. I like that they're moving it to April. I think anytime we can get more Avengers earlier is definitely a good thing. And I think we can agree on that, Kyle. All right.
Can I just point out quickly?
Yeah.
I just want to say that we're getting Game of Thrones and Avengers Endgame in April. Come on.
Oh, that's right. By the way, did you see the Game of Thrones little teaser they put out? I was kind of underwhelmed by it. The fire and ice one.
Yeah, I liked it. Again, I hope I don't get hit by a bus or have a myocardial infarction or I don't get hit by lightning or something happens, because as long as I make it through my life to April into May of next year, I'll be fine.
All right. All right, let's move on here. Next up. Let's see. Solito0739 writes, is it just me or is Mowgli better than Jungle Book? I haven't watched Mowgli yet, but I'm not reading great reviews. Like the last time I checked, it was hovering around 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, a little higher than 50%. So I'm going to watch it in the next day or two because I'm a big Andy Serkis fan. Have you had a chance to watch Jungle Book yet, Robert?
No, I haven't. I'm still getting through the second season of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, but Mowgli
I haven't even started yet. I haven't even started yet. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. I haven't even started yet. Okay, let's move on here. Tasty Dash writes, wonder where Rocket is. I was just asking that myself, Tasty. Can't imagine him just walking around the Avengers facility having normal group discussions with Cap and Widow. Well, see, the good thing about Stormbreaker is that now Thor can open Bifrost by himself. He doesn't even need Heimdall. He can open up a Bifrost all by himself. So it's possible first of all, it's possible Rocket could just be hanging out at the Avengers facility trying to make a plan with them how to get their friends back. Or it's possible Thor may have sent Rabbit off somewhere else. So I'm sure we'll find that out. You don't think so?
No, Rocket is on the talk show circuit. He's become the cause celeb of the world. Everyone loves the snarky Rocket Raccoon, and he's on the Rocket Raccoon World Tour because no one's ever seen the likes of him on Earth before, and he's bringing joy to the half of the population that remains on Earth.
I wouldn't be surprised if he suddenly became a celebrity of some sorts.
Yeah.
He would be great at that. All right.
Like the apes in Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
Yes. Perfect example. The analogies and the comparisons today, Robert, they're just rolling off the tongue. Akeem writes, where's the love for Rocket in the trailer? Yeah, again, it's the first trailer, though, guys. I mean, they can't show everybody. You can't show everybody in the trailer, right? Lee Mallinson writes, people may have skipped Infinity War if it was called Part 1. It was marketed as a culmination of the MCU, and now so is Endgame. Disney, very shady. See, here's the thing, Lee. A lot of people, Robert alluded to this earlier, but I 100% agree with him. I've been saying this forever. People would say to me after Infinity War, oh, that movie was clearly a Part 1. No, it wasn't. That movie was a total and complete movie. The only difference between it and the movies a lot of the rest of you think about, and Robert's mentioned this before too, is that the only difference is it's the bad guy who won. That's the only difference. It is a movie with 3 acts, a beginning, a middle, and a definite end. It's just that the end of that story had Thanos winning. Right? That's the end of it. Just like the first Avengers movie had a beginning, middle, and end, but at the end, the Avengers won the day. There's still more chapters to tell with Ultron and everybody else, but that was a full, complete, standalone movie, as was Infinity War. We just didn't like the outcome, but it was what it was. So that's the way I kind of see it. Okay, let's move on here. Let's see. That was Lee. So the next one comes to us from Mason Barr, who writes, Avengers trailer was good enough. Please no more trailers, and hopefully on my birthday again like Avengers 3. Well, you and Robert both, Mason. Robert doesn't want any more trailers. He doesn't want to see anything else. Yeah, Robert's with you. I mean, clearly there will be more, and they will give us more, and they will give us a great eye-popping trailer. But I do have a feeling, Robert, that this won't be the traditional marketing campaign. I don't think we're going to get 4 trailers. I don't think we're going to get 4 or 5 trailers. I think we'll probably, at most, I think we're going to get 3. I think we're going to get one more in January, February, and then maybe one more 3 weeks out from the movie, and that'll be it.
Well, Captain Marvel opens what, like March 4th?
Yeah.
I think we'll get one attached to Captain Marvel.
And that might be the final one, yeah.
And whatever the end credits tag in Captain Marvel is, I mean, I expect that to lead directly into Avengers 4. To Endgame.
And then whatever number of TV spots they put out, because Marvel likes their TV spots. All right, let's see. What's next here? Alpha writes, Spider-Verse 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, over or under 15%, it keeps it. Yes, as of right now, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is still holding a 100%. I will take under 15% that it holds it. There's still like 150 reviewers to come. I think last time I checked, it had about 70 reviews in. I think this is going to be one that probably gets around 250 reviews from all the critics that are connected to Rotten Tomatoes. It's just, film is subjective. Somebody's going to dislike it. All it takes is one person to not like the film. And that's the thing. Film is subjective. So I know I'm seeing it in like just a couple of days. And I'll tell you guys what I think about it once I do. But I just, all film's subjective. The law of averages says somebody's going to dislike it. So I think it will drop off the 100% mark. But it's pretty exciting that it's at 100% right now, even just to start. Tyler Yeats writes, I'm happy with the trailer. The beginning with Tony was pretty dark, and I liked it. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Tyler. I liked it too. I thought it was good, a good first trailer. I'm just saying it didn't blow me away or anything, and it didn't raise my anticipation level for the movie simply because I'm already so freaking excited for the movie. But I thought it was good. I thought it was solid. I thought it had some really cool moments. And I dug it. And you're right. The beginning was kind of dark, but it was pretty good. Let's see. Geo writes, excited for Men in Black. Hemsworth and Thompson are great. I got to tell you what, man, when they first, Robert, I haven't asked you about this, but when they first announced this Men in Black, it was going to be Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth in doing it. I thought, oh, that's interesting. But I'll be honest with you, I've been getting more and more intrigued with it. And I've been getting kind of excited about it now, legitimately. What are your thoughts about this upcoming thing?
Well, I think it's good. Didn't they announce the new title is actually Men in Black International?
Yeah, something like that.
Which I think is a great idea. You've got maybe Chris Hemsworth is playing Australian. He's not doing an American accent or something. And
or an Asgardian accent.
Or an Asgardian accent. I think it's going to be great. They got a great cast. I've always seen Men in Black as an ongoing franchise, and the fact that they're changing it up could be great. I mean, I really liked Josh Brolin in the last one.
Oh, as a young Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
He did a great, I didn't love the movie, but he did a great younger Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on here. Next one. Let's see. Comes to us from Jared Smith, who writes, where's Jared? There he is. Showed almost nothing, but got me hyped. Think Clint's family dusted. That could be what made him go Ronin. Again, I don't think you're going to hear the name Ronin. I don't think they're going to say that, much like, we saw Spider-Man as Iron Man Jr., but they never referred to him as Iron Spider, and they never referred to... So right. I don't think we're going to hear the name Ronin. Not to mention, in the MCU, it's a little too close sounding to Ronin the Accuser. So I don't think they're going to do that. But that scene with him, with that awesome looking sword, having just killed those dudes, and clearly with a lot of pain in his face, I absolutely believe, Jared, 100%, that at least some, if not all, of his family got dusted. Of that, I have no doubt. Dimsum05 writes, got huge The Martian vibes from the Iron Man scenes. Yeah, that's a good observation, Dimsum. Great drama. Cap's line about not knowing what he's going to do is chilling, A+. I have a feeling, though, that the only reason I didn't get a Martian kind of feel from that is because, unlike The Martian, which took the whole movie to unravel how he's going to get home, I think Tony is back home within 15 minutes of the movie starting. So I think that gets solved pretty quick. I think that's going to be showing him up there, blah, 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 and 5 minutes later, somebody finds him. So, because they need him to get back to Earth to get him involved in the action. So that's what I think they're going to do there. James Dixon writes, what's happening? Good teaser for Endgame. Ronan looks badass, and I wonder if Nebula leaves Tony in the ship of Captain Marvel, in the ship and Captain, you probably instead of you mean Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel saves them on her way to Earth. Maybe. I mean, it's possible. The one thing about the Captain Marvel angle, and I don't doubt it, the one thing I have about the Captain Marvel thing is space is big. Space is very, very big. And Captain
You sound
Marvel,
like Douglas Adams then.
Yeah, yes, it did.
Hitchhiker's Guide. Space is
big. It's very, very big. And thanks for the fish. But it does, like, she doesn't know Tony. She has no idea who that guy is. And she just happens to come along. I guess that could happen. It's possible. I like the idea. But they'd have to give some kind of narrative purpose to it happening, I think. An explanation why she's the one who gets him. That or Nebula finds him. That or, Captain America and Black Widow find him, or something like that. I don't know. I think there are several options available here to us. All right. Next one comes to us from Santa Claus, who writes, I'm tired after a long night of delivering that trailer to all. It was a very great gift, Santa Claus. Thank you for delivering joy to all the boys and girls. Curtis Lopez writes, I'm hoping for Key and Peele to replace Kevin Hart, or maybe better, Jeff Goldblum. First of all, you could never get Jeff Goldblum, because at the moment he accepts it, 55 different things from his past are going to get dragged up. And I got a feeling that neither Key or Peele won that scrutiny either. And it brings us right back to something, Robert, you and I have been saying this whole show. Who's going to want, after this, who's going to want to even try to host the Oscars at this point?
Right.
I wouldn't. I know you wouldn't, and I got a feeling Key and Peele wouldn't want to either, but that's I would like Key and Peele. They're not legit movie personalities, although, Michael Keegan Key, he is becoming more and more of a movie personality now. Even I'll forgive him for being in that terrible Predators movie, but I don't know. You got anybody off the top of your head, Robert, though, that you'd like to see host the Oscars?
Clint Eastwood. No one would go after Clint Eastwood. He's got a movie coming out, even though he's pushing 90. Nobody, he's bulletproof, Clint Eastwood. I don't know if he'd be the most dynamic host, but I think if you or here's one for you, William Shatner. Shatner hosting the Oscars.
Look, having a Canadian host the Oscars is always a good idea. I don't know how he would do, though. And listen, I think there are many skeletons in that dude's closet. I don't think Shatner wants to be subjected to that kind of scrutiny either. So I don't know. But by the way, did you ever see? It only lasted one season. Did you ever see the TV show version of that book? Shit, My Dad Says, and William Shatner.
Oh yes,
I thought that was funny. First of all, the book is hilarious, but I thought the show itself was pretty funny too. All right, let's move on here. Guys, we only got a few minutes left here, so I'm just going to get through as many here as I can. Who was that? That was Curtis. Ben Rayner writes, do you think the Academy will go after someone safe now, like a Billy Crystal or Steve Martin, and would that be good? They might have no choice right now other than to do something safe. Like, it kind of reminds me, Robert, of like after the James Franco and Anne Hathaway debacle of hosting the Oscars,
right.
The very next year they went back to something safe just to steady the ship. And that might be something they may need to look at here. First of all, I think Billy Crystal was probably the greatest Academy host of all time. I just love Billy Crystal hosting the Academy Awards. By the way, though, Robert, the single funniest line, and it's not going to sound nearly as funny when I say it, but the single funniest line, I think, in Oscar history was when Steve Martin was hosting the Oscars. And it was after several years in a row that Billy Crystal had done it. Steve Martin was hosting the Oscars, and Steve Martin in his opening monologue said this, and I'll never forget it. It's not going to sound 1/10 as funny coming from me, but he said this. Hosting the Oscars is like making love to a beautiful woman. I only get to do it when Billy Crystal's out of town, which I just about died. I just about died when he said so. I would be all for a Steve Martin. I'd be all for a Billy Crystal. They might need to do that, but let's see if they got a card up their sleeve for something like that. All right. Next one comes to us from Luna Comics, who writes, I have to say I was a little disappointed by the trailer, except for that part when Cap said, I don't know what I'm going to do if it doesn't. Powerful line. It was a powerful line. And, I thought it was a really good little emotional moment, too, showing Tony that with all the stuff that he's done, the only thing he's thinking about was Pepper. And I like that, too, a lot. So I think there were some really good moments in there. Curtis Lopez writes, it's still sad, though. Hart got the gig for only 48 hours until some no-life a-holes had to ruin everything. Well, look, I'm never going to blame anybody for being sensitive to certain things. We don't walk in everybody else's shoes. So maybe certain things we're more sensitive towards and whatever. But I would want to smack up the head the people at the Academy who, guys, these things Kevin Hart said, this doesn't take a deep dive. If you want to vet somebody who may be hosting the Oscars, all you got to do is hop online and type Kevin Hart controversy. And they would have known, and they did know everything. And the thing is, why did you not think that would be an issue then, but now making demands of Kevin Hart to apologize for something he did years ago when he's already explained it? I mean, I don't understand that. I think there's some real incompetence over there for the selection committee as to who was trying to pick out and select who hosted the Oscars. Joe Byram writes, over or under 60%. Tony is found by Captain Marvel on her way to Earth before his air runs out. I say over. I take under. I take under because, again, you're going to have to come up with some explanation about how with the vastness and the size of space that she just happened to come across. And by the way, we don't know that Captain Marvel isn't already on Earth. She might be in some, stasis, or she might be in some kind of whatever on Earth. Maybe she's out in space somewhere, we don't know. But then you got to explain, how does she just so happen to come across Tony floating in space? It's not like there's a single highway in space going from space back.
I think we're going to see Tony Stark die in space alone. And then because time travel through the quantum realm is involved, Tony will be saved that way. That Tony, when they go back in time, they're going to have to contact Stark first because he's the only Avenger that would believe what they're going to tell him, that they're from the future. So we're going to watch Tony Stark die as a proxy for all the humanity and all the people that have been dusted. We're going to see our most beloved character die, but then he's going to be resurrected in the past when we meet him, when the other Avengers go through the quantum realm, and he is going to be the person that begins this plot to then take it back to Thanos in the past.
I'll tell you why I don't agree. In those set photos that leaked a long time ago, when we see Captain America on the street, we see Ant-Man there, we see Iron Man there, Tony Stark, whereas they made some of the people look a little bit younger, Tony Stark definitively looked older. He just looked older. So that's the only reason. I like the theory. The only thing that's stopping me from buying into that theory is the fact that we've seen that picture, and that seems to suggest that this Tony ain't going to die. That the Tony of our current timeline is also going to go back, not other people going back to find another version of him. So I don't know. Maybe we'll have to wait and see.
I don't know.
It's possible. All right, next one up comes to us from Lee Mallinson, who writes, Ronin to be another alternate costume and not an actual character. Seen it with Nomad, Iron Spider, and White Wolf. Too much going on for any focus. Yeah, I don't believe at all they're going to say, don't call me Hawkeye anymore. Now I'm Ronin. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's just going to be Clint. I think that he's just going to be who he is. They're not going to give it a name. And you're right. They didn't start calling Spider-Man Iron Spider. They didn't start calling, they didn't start calling Captain America Nomad. They didn't start calling, They didn't do that. So I don't think they're going to do that for Ronin either. And it would be just confusing to the audience who have no idea what the hell that is. Yeah. Let's see. Derek Woodron writes, Morning, John. With the Kevin Hart thing, do you think Twitter may die sooner than later if celebrities keep having old tweets dig up? Well, listen, we talked about this on the show a while ago, Robert, is the fact that, we've already seen in the wake of what happened with James Gunn, we've seen a lot of celebrity directors, particularly some MCU directors even, saying, I'm done. I'm getting off Twitter. Because anybody's going to take anything I possibly say, make it look like whatever, and I'm either going to say something stupid or I'm not going to say something stupid, but it'll be said in such a way that somebody can take it and twist it to make it look like it means something else. And we've already seen a number of high-profile directors and celebrities saying, I'm done with social media. My solution to that is simply this, and I've been saying this for a while. Robert, a number of high-profile athletes. Actually, the NFL encourages their athletes to do this. And I think I might have started with some players on the Seattle Seahawks, by the way. But the NFL encouraged a lot of their players to, guys, put a go-between you and your Twitter. Have a social media manager that if you tweet something out, it actually goes to your social media manager first And then once it goes to your social media manager and another set of eyes is on it, and your social media manager goes, okay, this is probably safe, then have your social media manager send it out. Do you think that could be a solution for like Hollywood directors? Or do you think it's just best, you know what, guys, there's no upside to it, just get off Twitter altogether?
Well, I think, a social media manager is probably a good idea. But on the other hand, the whole point is to hear people's honest opinions. Chris Evans went on Twitter this morning hyping up the Avengers Endgame trailer. And I think it's unfortunate that we as a society, we are basically in the infancy, even though we're a decade or a decade plus, maybe 2 decades on in the social media space. We're a bunch of adolescent teenagers as a race, as a culture of people, the way we act on social media. We're in our infancy. We need to evolve, kind of like Dave Bowman evolves at the end of 2001 into the Star Child. I mean, we are the ridiculous behavior and the thin-skinned nature of our outrage culture today has to go away because it's interfering in real discourse, and sometimes issues are difficult. Look, I am no fan of safe spaces. Life is a hard, tough row to hoe. And it's better you learn how to deal with ideas. If you can't talk about what something somebody said is without getting all outraged, it's not like somebody pulled a gun and put it in your mouth. I mean, these are words, right. and we should be able to discuss them.
Let's be fair. There are things. I mean, we have seen there are things said that should not be said. There are,
well,
but the thing is, it just drives me crazy when we get other things that are like 1/10 the severity of some of the other things we've had said, but it's equaled. They just compare it as if he might as well have said that, but it's nothing like what he actually said. That is not exactly the same as him saying that. You know what I'm saying?
No, Twitter is a public square. And when people are on Twitter, they should be acting appropriately. They're acting in a public environment where everyone is listening, and they should take that under consideration. But on the other hand, that means that you should give that person the benefit of the doubt. You don't jump all over them because of something they've said. It should be carefully considered. Obviously, it's the internet, so that will never, ever happen. But in a perfect world, let's hope we evolve into thoughtful, intelligent people that can engage in discourse with those whose ideas we might not agree with.
And by the way, I believe that Chris Evans has a social media manager. Like, I believe it's him tweeting. I think he tweets it, but he doesn't tweet it on Twitter. He writes it out, hits send, it goes to social media manager, a second set of eyes who goes, yeah, okay, nothing dangerous in there, and then he can publish it for him. I think it's either
that man's name is Kevin Feige.
It's Kevin Feige, and that guy's name is Kevin Feige. Personally, I just think these directors should just get off Twitter. I really do. That's just the safest play. It's unfortunate. It sucks that that's the environment we have, but it is the environment we have, and I think they should just get off Twitter. All right. Let's just, we only have time for like 2 or 3 more here, guys, and then the rest we'll have to address in a companion video here. Let's see. Where are we at? Adam Douglas writes, 4 years, 3 months, 4 days ago, The Rock was cast as Black Adam. Yep. And I remember when he was cast as Black Adam, and I was there, and Robert, to this day, still no whisper or rumor about when we're actually going to see him as, honestly, no, and this is serious. I'm not trying to be, not hyperbole, not trying to be facetious. Honestly, do you think we're ever going to see Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Black Adam?
In the post-credit sequence of Shazam.
You think so? Because he's insisted he's not in it at all. But you think that might be a little bit of misdirection?
If the movie's good and Warner Brothers is, why not? Why not tease him the same way they teased Deathstroke and Lex Luthor at the end of Justice League? We might never see them again, but it was cool to see that teaser.
All right. Let's go on here now. Next one comes to us from Darth Impact. Oh, who's writing about something about yesterday? Don't worry about that, Darth. Chi-Town Rules 09 writes, the look on Hawkeye's face gave me chills. He looks like a man lost without he is lost without the people he loved most. Oh, I agree. That was a great moment. That was a great moment. And look, we're interpreting a lot and we're speculating a lot, but yeah, the look on his face was exactly that, Chi-Town. It was the face of a man in pain and the face of a man who has lost something and as a result has maybe lost himself. And I thought that was a great shot. I really do. Adam Douglas writes, is Christopher Plummer free to host the Oscars? He's the go-to guy. He's the go-to guy, bringing Christopher Plummer to host it because he is clean as the white-driven snow, man. You ain't going to find nothing on Christopher Plummer. All right. Micah T writes, Tony talking to Pepper trapped in space gave me chills. I had flashbacks of Iron Man 3. Love the trailer's tone and how we still don't know much. Again, I like the trailer's tone. I did. I like the trailer's tone. I like that as a first trailer. It doesn't give away too much. I could have stood them to give us a little bit more because essentially they gave us nothing. But still, overall, I thought it was a good first trailer. I just don't think it's this mind-blowing thing that a lot of people seem to think it was. Rushil P. writes, Max Landis had a show on BBC America called Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. Elijah Wood was one of the leads. Great show, but it got canceled after 2 seasons. Check it out if possible. I love it. You know what, Robert, have you ever seen that show? Dirk Gently's Holistic. What did you think about it?
Yes, I really liked it, and it's also based on another Douglas Adams book.
That's right.
Yes, and I love the book, and I really liked the show, and I thought it was cool that it got made. I'm sad to see it go.
I remember seeing a lot of trailers for it, and I always thought, I got to check that show out, but I never did.
It's not exactly like the book, but it was worth watching.
All right, let's just take a couple more here because we're already like 25 minutes over time. Kyle B. writes, F this PC culture. There's so much real problems going on in the world that people want to focus on tweets that were 10 years old. Have a great day. Well, look, first of all, I think people made PC out to be a bad thing. At its core, political correctness at its core, its true identity, is a very good and positive thing. But like anything that is good and positive, when taken to extremes, it can be negative. But I think at its core, it's pretty good. And I agree with you. I think like when we treat something like what Kevin Hart said to the level of something so much, much worse, I think there's a problem, and it's unfortunate that Kevin Hart had to be the latest victim of that. Abraham Novello writes, I don't want a Star Wars trailer anytime soon, but hype it brings will have died by the time the real marketing push starts. Release it in the summer at the earliest. You know what? I've already kind of gave my comments on that, Abraham. I agree. Unless what it is they're trying to do is just change the whole narrative and tone around the Star Wars culture entirely and not just about this one movie. You can do it, but holy crap, you can't pull any punches. You got to go right for the throat. You got to have something to show people that is going to completely blow their minds, and we've already kind of gone over that. Kyle B. writes, the Avengers 4 trailer was more like a name announcement, and it really was. Honestly, the most significant thing about that trailer was the fact that they gave us the name of the movie. I mean, would you agree, Robert, that that's the most significant thing that we got out of it was just now we know the name of the film?
Absolutely, and that was the big question that everybody had been asking. And Endgame had been long rumored. There was back in the summer, there was all that talk about how people figured out it was called Endgame. There
was also Annihilation, and then in recent days there was Decimation, and then there were some other names as well.
Yeah, and they've turned it, they've called it the Decimation, I guess, in the comic books now. But look, I liked the trailer a great deal. It was exactly kind of what I wanted. It didn't tell us everything, but it gave us a sense of where the movie starts and where the setup is, and that it truly was the ultimate defeat for these characters. I mean, half the universe lost every living thing. What's worse than that? All living things, I guess?
That would be, yes. That becomes an issue of math then at that point. All right, let's keep going here with a couple more. Luna Comics writes, 2000s kid here. I really wish Hollywood would start digging into 2000 nostalgia. I would love to see a Kids Next Door live action film. Just think Kids as Black Ops Part 1. I have no idea, because I am not a 2000s kid, Luna. I have no idea what Kids Next Door is. Do you have any idea what that is, Robert? Because I have no clue.
You know what? I don't, and I betray my age, and I apologize for not knowing something about pop culture. But yeah, if you want to have nostalgia for that, watch Agent Cody Banks, a movie I co-produced. Hey, check that out.
I didn't know you were one of the producers on Agent Cody Banks.
Oh yes, I was the original person, me and 2 other partners, who bought that screenplay from a limo driver. And then my buddies, Zach Stentz and Ashley Miller, who wrote Thor and X-Men First Class, that was their first feature script sale. We brought them on to rewrite the script.
Wow. Yep. I learned something new about you every day, Robert.
There you go.
Okay, let's keep going here. Let's see. Spencer Main writes, Part of the journey is the end. Yeah, that was a really good line, actually. Part of the journey is the end. That was a really nice line from Tony in the trailer there, too. It was a good way to open it as well. Luna Comics writes, and if you're worried about there being child actors, Logan had a great child actor. Well, here's the thing, Luna. There's this dynamic that people really do that they shouldn't do. Thinking that the exception it's never a good idea to use the exception as your case study, right?
Absolutely.
So, like the illustration I often give to this, Robert, is I say, look in basketball. Sometimes when the half is about to end or the game is about to end, a basketball player will have the ball at midcourt, like all the way at the center of the court, and they'll just heave one up because time's running out. Every once in a while, it'll go in, and it makes Sports Center highlight of the nights and blah, blah, blah. Saying things like, well, Logan had a good child actor, to me, that's the exact same thing as, oh, you should always shoot from center court because, look, this one guy did it 6 months ago and it went in. Well, yeah, but that's the exception. It's a very precarious position to put yourself in, Rob, to use the exception as your baseline case study for why your argument works. You know what I mean? You put yourself in a very dangerous spot. Look, and by the way, we've seen kid actors work. I'm not worried about kid actors. I'm dubious about using kid actors in lead roles. But yes, there have been 2 or 3 good examples. Dakota Fanning was a very good child actor. Mm-hmm. This kid, Daphne, I forget Daphne's last name, from Logan. She was great in Logan. She didn't speak a lot of English in it, and she was the secondary character, so she didn't have to do the heavy lifting of the movie, but she was great in the role. I would just be very cautious, though. What do you think are some of the big child performances in your head, Robert, that pop to mind when you try to think of like really great child performances?
Well, Elliot in E.T.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
One of the great childhood performances, and Drew Barrymore. That was her debut. I mean,
also
she was
in E.T. Yeah,
phenomenal in that. All 4 boys in Stand By Me. Yep. River Phoenix breakout role. Will Wheaton was in
Stranger
that movie.
Things.
Yes, the Stranger Things cast, a tremendous cast of child actors. Really great stuff. Absolutely.
All right, let's move on here. Let's see. Matt Woods writes, hey, John, after the amazing Avengers 4 trailer, I didn't think it was that amazing, but I thought it was good. Do you think it'll be too soon for Sony to release the Spider trailer after Avengers 4 if they do on Saturday? No, I honestly, look, Spider-Man, when's it supposed to come out, in June or July? I think it's supposed to come out in July. So we are January, February, March, April, May, June. We're 7 months out. It's a little early, but 7 months out isn't ridiculously too early. It's right on the edge of being far too early, but 7 months, yeah, you could do that. But it feels like right now that Marvel is trying an accumulative effect. Here's Captain Marvel. Here's Avengers. Here's Spider-Man. Oh my God, 2019 is going to be so amazing. It seems like that's what they're going for. So, no, I'm fine with it. I would also be perfectly fine if they waited another 3 months to give us a Spider-Man trailer. But I'm perfectly fine with it. I have no problem for it. Ben Rayner says, Ant-Man felt a bit off to me. Oh, I disagree, Ben. I disagree. I think, Rob, you and I both agree that Ant-Man part may have been like just the perfect placement of that. I think that's how I felt.
It was perfect, and I loved like when it harks back to when he first met Captain America in the garage. Yeah. You know, I mean, it was great. It was awesome. That's why Captain America. I love the look on his face when he says, "Is this an old message?" Yeah. You know, I mean, it was great. It was great. They
all thought he's dead too, because I'm sure he was probably trapped in that quantum realm.
Yeah,
for them to assume he's dead. For them to assume he's dead means he has to have been gone for at least a little while. He has to have been trapped in there at least for a while. So,
right, and that's why Captain America said, "Is this an old message?"
Yeah, like we thought he was dead. All right, but hey, Ben, you know what? Didn't work for you. Didn't work for you. That's the subjectivity of film, man. Nikhil Shirsat writes, "When I drift off, I will dream about you." Yeah, that was another very, very nice line. Very good line. I like everything they did with Tony in that, as a matter of fact. Patrick Conway writes, love the trailer from Tony's message, the Avengers devastation, the badass shot of Hawkeye, the hope when Scott arrives, perfect for a teaser trailer. It was a good teaser trailer. Yeah, like I just know there are going to be people who misrepresent me and say, oh, why did Campea hate the Avengers? I didn't hate it. I thought it was good. It didn't blow me away, But it's a first trailer, so I'm okay with that. But I did think there was some very, very nice stuff in there. Ariel Sandoval writes, have you seen Jonas Hill's directorial debut with Mid-90s? I haven't seen Mid-90s yet. I haven't seen that. Oh, I was about to ask you, Robert, if you've seen it. I'll be honest with you. I didn't even think the trailer didn't appeal to me all that much. It felt like a very standard paint-by-numbers indie film kind of filmmaker, even though Jonah Hill is a big star, but it felt like an indie film filmmaker kind of. But that's just the trailer. It doesn't mean the movie's not brilliant. But what did you think about the trailer? Are you at all interested in seeing it?
I am. I mean, I was a skateboarder when I was a kid, not an expert skateboarder, and I'm not a child of the 90s, but like Lords of Dogtown is I love that film so much. I love Keith Ledger playing Skip Englund, that kind of thing appealed to me. Skater culture has always been something that's appealed to me. Now that I'm an old man, I'll never be a part of it. But mid-90s skater culture, I'm in. I'll get it on Blu-ray.
All right, and let's go to our final question of the day. And again, for those of you guys who have sent in questions that we didn't get around to, do not worry. I'm going to be recording some companion videos later today and tomorrow, so you will get your questions answered. They will be answered in a video. We've already gone over an hour and a half today, so we're going to wrap things up with this one today with the question from John Benedict, who writes, Avengers 4 trailer was good, not great. They're definitely withholding, but at the end of the day, better go in blind rather than knowing everything. Well, yeah, but see, that's always been my argument, John. It's like, it's not either or. It's not either show us absolutely nothing or give away everything. Like, a lot of people talk about that as if, oh, well, what, like we say, well, man, they didn't show us anything. And then the counter argument to that is always from people, well, what, did you want them to give everything away? It's not either or. There is a middle ground there where you give us enough. And by the way, I'm not saying they needed to do that with the first trailer. We didn't need to know the general plot from the first trailer. That's fine.
Right.
I think they could have given us a little bit more sizzle. I think they could have done a little bit more to make it more memorable, but I don't think it's an either-or situation there. So yeah, there you go. Okay, guys, that will do it for this installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I want to thank my guest joining us from his place, also in Los Angeles, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, where can people find you online?
Well, John, thanks. This was a lot of fun. I know there's a few technical snafus on my end. I apologize. And yes, it will sound better next time. But you can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Burnett Work, and look out for the second episode of Robservations coming in within the week.
And you guys, of course, can find me on social media simply at John Campea. Guys, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Come back and find all the stuff we're going on here. Of course, don't forget, guys, this weekend we have some companion videos going up. I'm going to do a little bit of Spider-Man playing chats. And then, of course, we will be back again in the actual studio on Monday. And I think Robert's going to be with me again on Monday as well. So listen, guys, that'll do it for us. Thanks a lot for joining us. My name's John Campea, and until next time.